Greetings YouTube and welcome to my latest weapons build. This is a piece of mild steel. It's 3 inches wide, 36 inches long, and 3/16 of an inch thick. And I am going to make an SOL, a sword-like object. SOLs are not real swords, they just kind of look like them. And even if I had the capacity to harden metal, and I don't, this being mild steel, it would harden very poorly, and it really wouldn't be much of a sword. But it's going to have the post-apocalyptic vibe that I want. So what is it going to look like? Well, I'm hoping you can see some of the layout lines because they are black against gray, but I think you can. I'm going to put a point, and the point's going to be 4.5 inches from there to the center. And then every 1.5 inches, there's going to be another point. And there's 10 points total. Then it comes down to a 1-inch diameter shaft, and then a big diamond down here, which is the pommel, or not really a pommel, but the end of the thing. I will probably put a curve in here. I'll cut not quite there. I'll come shy of it, and then I'll grind that in. I'll probably make that a curve. We'll see what I want to do. Now, what I'm going to do at the end of each of these, the bottom of each of these things, is I'm going to put a hole like that. So these are actually going to end up being pretty small, but by doing this, it's going to lighten up the overall look. It's going to give it far more visual interest and complexity, even though it's a very simple thing that I'm doing, which is drilling a bunch of holes. And this down here is going to have more of an arrow shape. It's almost going to look like the broadhead on some commercial arrows you see when I'm done. I will not grind because it's going to end up looking like that. And I'm not going to grind the edge that wide. It'll probably be half that width. And this is the only section that's really going to have a proper edge. I'm going to try to put a proper edge here. And again, mild steel. It's not really for slashing, it's for thrusting. And then these will all have points on them, but they're far more just impacts. This section is more like a mace than anything, a toothed mace than it is a sawtooth. But I wanted something that was more visually interesting than just a sawtooth, which is why I'm going to drill holes all the way down, and I've already marked all the places where the holes need to be. I actually need to mark one down here as well, because I need to put one there, so I have some way to store the damn thing, because this is going to be difficult to store when I'm done. And even though this is only an inch wide here, I'm going to wrap it, so it will be, 3/16 wider than it is in each direction when I'm finished. So it'll look wider when I'm finished, and of course it'll be a hell of a lot more comfortable to hold, because at the moment this is just a thin piece of steel, which is not really going to be comfortable at all. It's also still cold from being outside. I had to store it outside, and at the moment it's like 25 degrees outside, so it's amazing. I've been down for almost an hour, and it's still chilly. So I just remembered I got to do that. So I got to put a mark here for where I want that hole to go, so I have a place to hang it off of a screw or something, off of a beam, because this is going to be dangerous, very dangerous to store. It's not like I can build a sheath for this thing. It would be very difficult to build a sheath for something that's going to be essentially a saw, or a very poor saw. So mark that up, and then set up my Blair rotor broach with this cutter. It's currently got a 5/16 in it. It's actually in the drill bit. It's in the drill press at the moment. So switch that out, and then I can start drilling this. And after I'm done drilling all these holes, I'm probably going to call it quits today, because again, this is my long day. I'm still working 6-day weeks. It's my 4th 6-day week in a row, and I'm not real thrilled about that fact. But so I have a limited amount of time before I start getting tired. I was so punchy today. I walked into a restaurant to pick up a pizza without a mask on. I felt horrible. It was just very poor etiquette on my part. I felt bad, but I did leave him a $5 tip, trying to make up for the fact that I was picking up my calzone and some fries. Alrighty, so time to drill a whole bunch of holes, and once I get this clamped in place, I'll show you the setup, and then we'll start drilling. So here I have it set up. I've got my vise, my clamping device here from Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh Tools, I guess, and a spacer, because again this is only 3/16 of an inch thick, and I'm using my old hold down as a spacer, and I have this end on the left supported by my my saw stand, which is handy for this particular. I don't actually use it for sawing, I use it for drilling. And so we're all set here to drill a hole, so let's drill a hole. And there we go, one drilled hole. I know that's not particularly interesting to watch, probably, but I'm sure that some people out there may find that moderately interesting. I will not be filming the rest of them because that would be very, very boring. And standing here and drilling the hole in the particular manner is very awkward for me, because normally I would have my arms where the camera is, so I kind of had to hold the handles from above, which is not the most comfortable thing in the universe. Well, there you go. So that is what I'm going to do, and I got to do it 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 more times. Woohoo! Yeah, it's going to be exciting. All right, so 22 more times of that, and then I'll be done for the day, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And then the next week, I'll come in here with an angle grinder, and I'll start doing my cutoffs. So, time to put the camera stand back and start drilling a bunch of holes. Some people are probably going to ask, why didn't you use lubricant? Well, I didn't use lubricant in that first hole because I didn't want to spray any potential lubricant all over my camera lens. But I am using lubricant on the other holes. I'm using petroleum jelly. Why am I using petroleum jelly? Because it's thicker than oil and it's less likely to go everywhere. And I can very easily just scrape it off onto the cutter with my fingertip. Wipe my fingertip off and you're ready to go. I actually saw someone on YouTube, and I wish I could remember the name of the channel. It's a guy that silently makes all these really complex rigs for doing woodworking and metalworking, and I think he might be Japanese, and I'm not sure. But I saw him using this, and my brain is like, well, why didn't you think of that? Because that's a really inexpensive way of doing it, and it's readily available. I mean, this is going to be at every drugstore and dollar store in America. I think I bought this container for like $2.50 at the grocery store. So it's a very inexpensive. And if you need it, it's also a hand moisturizer. So yeah, so I am using lubricant on the other holes. I just didn't use it in the first one because I really didn't want to take the risk of spraying thinly, heated up petroleum jelly on my camera lens. Well, I killed it. I killed my Blair Rotobroach 3/4 inch bit. It did, see 1, see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It was on number 12 when it just gave up the ghost. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just drill out the holes and then just keep opening them up. And I don't have enough bits to go up that size, and in the process of opening the holes up to this size, I bent 2 bits. So I'm like, okay, well, I have a couple options. One of the options is to go get a much bigger drill, because I only have a standard half-inch chuck hand drill. Get something larger, like a 3/4 inch chuck, and then get some big-ass drill bits, and then try that. And it was quite painful to drill those, because every time that it grabs, it torques and it hurts. Or I could try to go out and get another bit for this. So this is an Asnomi 19mm bit. I've never used this company. I own a set of them that go from 22 to 65. There are 6 bits in that set, and I've never used any of them for anything. I just picked them up recently. And this is a 19, which is almost exactly the same thing as a 3/4. So I am going to give it a try. I'm going to put some lubricant in that channel, and then give it a try and see if I can get this to drill out the rest of that hole. The big difference between this, which is hardened steel, and that is that that has carbide tips, which is why I picked it up. It also has a drill bit as opposed to just a little centering bit, which is designed, to fit into the little punch you make in your metal, so that you can get it exactly where you want to. That is an actual drill bit, which at the moment will be doing nothing because I have already drilled all these things out. But it will make locating the holes in these 4 at least very, very easy, because I think it's the same size diameter, but it's very close. So at the moment, that drill bit is only there for helping me to center the hole. So I need to get that drilled out before I can go any further, because until I can get those done, I can't go to the next stage, which is cutting using the angle grinder to actually cut all the points into this, so that then I get to the grinding stage. So again, this is a step-by-step process. Yeah, so really not happy with the fact that I killed this bit. Even with lubrication, I guess I heated it up too much, because I was cutting them very quickly one after another. Because with this nice little clamp I've got here from Harbor Freight, going from hole to hole to hole is really darn easy. It's very fast. It's just a matter of releasing it, sliding it, putting it back down, boom, clamp, and you're ready to go for the next one. So maybe I wasn't giving it enough time to recover. I'm not sure. We're going to find out if it works. So first we're going to do this one, which is going to probably be the messiest one, because I already have this channel here and I have to kind of go into that channel, and the teeth on this are not the same width as this, so that's going to be a little on the messy side. But the rest of these should be a lot cleaner, particularly these 4 here. So I'm not going to film this right now because it may get ugly. I'm going to slap a glove on my left hand so I hopefully don't get hurt with my left hand, and just use my right hand on the tiller here and start giving it a shot and see what happens. Well, drilling out the holes that I had already opened, absolute nightmare. Just this thing bucking like a bronco. I had to break out 2 more clamps. This whole thing was shaking. It was ugly and unpleasant. I just hit the first hole that I had a 1/4 inch hole in it, so it's the same size diameter as the drill bit that comes with the cutter. World of difference. Absolutely much better. So I should have a much easier time with the remaining holes, and in the future, if I'm using this on its own from the get-go, just into the the divot I put in the steel with my marking tool, I should not have this shaking issue. So the holes I had to open up, ugly as hell. I would have been far better off if I had just thrown in the towel after the last one crapped the bed, gone out and ordered one, and I would have only had 1 bad hole to deal with, and that was the one that the bit had not completed. And everything else would have been fine. And in fact, I probably would have been okay with that one, because if I had not opened up the hole, the drill bit would have gone through the divot that was still there from the last bit. So yeah, live and learn, folks. Sometimes you think you're doing something good and you're not. So much better hole when I'm going through something that I have the drill bit to help as a guide. And so the rest of these holes should be much, much nicer. So overall, I am much happier with this bit now than I was when I was using it in the last few holes, because it was ugly. Those holes are not the same size as, they're not 3/4 of an inch. They're not 19 millimeters, because this thing was bucking so much it was shaking my entire table. I mean, I'm watching the bit deflect. It's chattering so much. It was ugly. So yeah, gonna do some more holes, get this done, and today, if I can, I may go ahead and cut the pieces off. I'm feeling pretty good today, even though it's on my long day. So maybe I can do those cuts. I may just cut the points today, because cutting this section of the handle is gonna kind of be a bear, because it's gonna have to nibble it in, and until I can finally get my. Because doing a plunge cut. Well, if I use a brand new wheel, maybe I can do a plunge cut. That's not too bad. Doing a plunge cut with an angle grinder is a pain in the butt. It really is. Maybe if I cut the two reliefs at the end first, and then get a nice sharp, nice brand new blade and come right down like that, maybe I can get it to not be too bad. I guess we'll find out. But yes, I'm really happy with the Asnomi bit at the moment, now that I know how to use it properly, and I'm not trying to use it in a way that it wasn't intended. So, yay. I will still use my other Blair Rotobroach bits for other things. I just know that if I need to drill this many holes, I really need a cutter that's got carbide teeth. So here we have the preliminary cuts. It's not all that neat and pretty yet. I have not even close to the line at some of these things, but I'll neaten it up and make it look a little more balanced when I'm done. And again, this is a post-apocalyptic aesthetic, so if it's not perfect, I'm not going to cry over it. Aesthetically, it might be nice to have put holes down the middle here. I don't think I'm going to do that. I have done enough with drilling holes. I'm tired of drilling holes. I drilled a hell of a lot of holes in this thing. I'm not going to do this today. I'm too tired. But that's going to be the next thing, which is going to be cut the end off, cut those two pieces off to make that a point, and then make these 4 cuts, and then start working on getting that cut in there, this whole section out. That's going to be a bear to get out. I know it is. I only had one oops, which isn't too bad. I had a little nick right there, but I'll buff part of that out when I deburr this top, because there's burrs all over the top. And this side is even worse. This side is just dangerous, man. There's all kinds of burrs on this side, because this is the side where the blade, everything was coming out on this side. All the holes came out on this side, and all the cuts came out on this side. So there's big, nasty burrs everywhere on this thing. But they'll all be going away once I get the final shape, and then I put some points on these. And these points are just probably going to have just like a 45 degree on these. I just want to have points on them. This will actually have, I'll actually kind of grind an edge onto this one, but these are just going to have points. And this will be relatively burr-free, and I haven't decided if I'm going to try to do a radius here or try to do a sharp cut. We'll find that out when I get to it and see which I think looks better as I get to the line and everything. It's been a long process. This is not a quick project on this one. A lot of parts on this, and having to go and get a brand new bit and then wrestle with it, because I was trying to use it in a way that really wasn't meant to be used, didn't help the process. But now we're doing good. Now we're well on our way to a final project. So next week, and again, it's like I only have like a couple of 2-3 hours every week to work on these kind of projects. So next week I'll work on this, and then it will be the shaping and the grinding, and then finally when I'm finished it'll be wrapping, because that's all I'm doing for the handles. I'm going to wrap it. It may take me another 2 weeks to get this done if I'm lucky. I'm hoping it doesn't take me 3, because I actually would like to go on to something else. As much as I like a project when I'm working on it, I also have other things cooking in the back of my head, and I'm like, well, I want to do that, and I want to do that. So I always kind of want to move on to the next thing sometimes when I get this far into a project. This has been really dragging its feet because it's got so many steps. All right, so thank you for being here, and next week we'll get around to hopefully the finished shaping, and maybe point grinding. We'll find that out. I've cleaned up all the points, so these are the final shapes that the points will be in prior to my putting bevels on them. So there's a couple of burrs still left on here. I took the ones off the circles, but there are still some burrs on here. The burrs will be gone when I put the bevels on the points. Now the points are not 100% even. I'm well aware of this fact. I've never done anything like this before, so this is a first time for me. This will have a proper bevel on it, so I'm going to put a bevel, probably goes back about a ½ inch, so kind of go to the center line and kind of make this almost, you know, edge-like, sword-like. These are just going to probably have 45-degree bevels on them, just to make them impacts point. So I'm probably going to start here and kind of come to a center line, so kind of slope this down. So this will kind of be triangular shaped when I'm finished. At least that's the idea. We'll see how that works. So now the next step on this is going to be to turn this back over, because the layout lines are on the other side, and cut the rest of the handle out, So I'm going to go in here at 45-degree angles, 2 cuts there, to cut these corners off, and then 2 cuts in this way. And then once I have those 45-degree cuts made, then I will start here and make a shallow cut all the way down to that point. And so that this whole section will just kind of go boom under the floor. And then I can come in from the other side and maybe at that point do a straight line, at least straight enough so that I can then clean it up with the flap wheel. So that's kind of I'm hoping I can make this in like 4 or 5 cuts when it comes to taking the handle out. And the handle is going to be about 1 inch wide in the center. And then I'm going to wrap this so it'll be thicker when I'm finished. And actually, did I deburr that one? I did not. I have to deburr that one. Because that's going to be this is just going to be how I hang it up on the wall when I'm finished. But yes, we're getting there. So deburr that hole, put the cut off wheel back in there, and then start working on the grip of this project. But so far, this is really coming out quite nicely, and I plan on calling this like the Sword of Chaos. So the fact that everything is slightly irregular is a-okay with me. That fits the vibe of chaos. All right, time for some cutting out the handle. Didn't go quite as smoothly as I wanted it to. Not really. So I'm going to put on my angle grind, my grinding blade, not the flap wheel, not the cutoff wheel. I have a number of grinding blades, and I'm just gonna try to clean that up and get it closer to the line. And once I get close to the line, then we'll go back to the flap wheel. But these 2 cuts are very close to where I want them. This one needs a little bit work. This came out nicer. This was a little too far off. But again, I can always make that fit a little bit better when I'm finished. But I got fairly close to the line with the cutoff wheel. So now I'm going to put the grinder on there and just start chomping off this so it's closer to that line, and then break out the flap wheel. And I think I learned a few things on this one that'll make it this side easier. That's always the process. I'm not normally making lines this long when it comes to cutting steel. So this is a learning process. There's a sweet spot when you got that cutting wheel doing its job, and you got to hit it to really to cut smoothly and cleanly and safely. The second cut came out a hell of a lot easier than the first one. As you can see from the blank, which is almost exactly the same shape as what I've just taken off. So that came out much cleaner and easier. So again, this is all a learning process. And I'm just not used to making long cuts like this with my angle grinder. I just don't make them. This is the first time I've ever had to make it's like almost a 12, 13-inch cut. So now it's going to go back to the grinding wheel, which does a really beautiful job. I was able to get very close to that line with the grinder, and then clean up the rest with the flap wheel. I think I may have dinged that line just a smidge but I can clean that up. You'll probably never notice it when I'm finished. Up here I did a better job. There's still space between the line I drew on there. So this is the only one I get very close to that one. Part of that because I have it clamped here, so there was kind of a bit of a vibration on this end. I actually had to kind of lean my body up against this to kind of dampen a smidge. So yeah, I made this a little more difficult than I needed to. I could have repositioned this halfway through and avoided some of that vibration, but I didn't. You know, live and learn. Alrighty, so grinding wheel now and flap wheel, and I think this is going to be it for the day. I don't feel like getting around to the actual points on this. Hopefully I'll have time tomorrow because I actually have a 2-day weekend. I know it's surprising the crap out of me. Alrighty, so let's get this wrapped up and then I can go upstairs and hang out with my wife. So hope you folks are all having a good day. This is a much longer project than I originally planned. So the grinding is complete. All the points have been put on, and they're not perfect, but again, I'm not going for perfection. And I've got the bevel in here, and it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad. Mild steel, it's not going to take a great edge, and I did just take a smidge off too much there, but again, I'm still learning how to do this kind of thing. Putting bevels on blades like this is a new task for me. It's not something I come to naturally. But it actually has an edge. Not much of one, but it's got an edge. So now it's to clean the floor up so I can get my cordage out and then wrap the handle, and then this job is done. So that's the next process, is to, well, put the grinder away, which is currently sitting up here. This is a position I use it in when I do all the fine work on the edge, so that I have more control, so this is not moving and just the blade is moving, and that way I have more control of what I'm doing. And using an object this big was a little awkward, but of course it also gives me a lot of leverage. It is very long. So yes, we're getting almost done. The Sword of Chaos, the sword-like object here, is almost complete. And I apologize, this is going to be a long-ass video that's taken me weeks to accomplish, but I'm really happy with the result so far. So let's clean up a little and then get the wrap done. And here is the completed project. All wrapped up and ready to rock. Like I said, it's a sword-like object. It's not an actual sword. But it is very cool looking, and it would be really damn dangerous if you hit somebody who was wearing no armor or soft armor like leather or something. This is going to do a hell of a lot of harm. You can thrust with it, and of course you can hit them with many, many little points. And I just like this overall look. I think it came out very, very well. So now it's time to go outside, take some stills for this video, as well as my DeviantArt page and my Instagram. And you should follow me on both, because I would really appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed this overly long video about how to turn a piece of flat steel into this particular monstrosity.